Hey everyone, welcome to the first episode of Storytime with me, Max Jackson. Today I'll be reading a classic fairy tale by Hans Christian Andersen called, in terms of his chapter book, just let me find it, The Tinder Box. So just sit back, relax and listen up. A soldier was marching along the high road. Left, right, left, right. He had his knapsack on his back and a sword at his side. For he had been to the wars and was going home. And on the way he met an old witch. Oh, she was horrid. Her bottom lip came right down to her chest. "Hello, soldier," she said. "What a nice sword you've got, and what a big knapsack. You're a proper soldier. Now you shall have all the money you want." Thank you, you old witch," said the soldier. "Did you see that big tree?" said the witch, pointing to a tree which grew by the roadside. "It's quite hollow inside. Climb to the top of it and you'll see a hole, and if you slip through that, it will take you right down into a tree. I'll tie a rope round your waist, and then I can pull you up again when you give me a shout." "What am I going to do inside of the tree?" asked the soldier. "Get money," said the witch. "Now listen to me. When you come to the bottom of the tree, you'll find yourself in a big passage. It will be perfectly light, as there are over 100 lamps burning there. Then you'll see 3 doors which you'll be able to open, as the keys are in the locks. Now if you go inside the first room, you'll see in the middle of the floor a big chest, and sitting on top of it a dog. He's got eyes as big as a breakfast cups, but never mind that. I'll give you my blue check apron, which you can spread out on the floor. Then walk quickly up to the dog, put him on my apron over my chest, and help yourself to as much money as you like. It will all be copper. If you'd rather have a silver, you'll have to go into the next room. There sits a dog with eyes as big as mill wheels, but never mind that. Put him on my apron and help yourself to the money. And if you want gold, you can have that as well, as much as you carry if you go into the third room. But the dog that sits on the money chest in there has eyes as big as the round tower in Copenhagen. There's a proper dog for you, but never mind that. Just put him on my apron and he won't harm you. Then help yourself to as much gold as you like." "That doesn't sound so bad," said the soldier. "But what do you want from me, you old witch? Because you'll be wanting something, I expect." "No," said the witch. "I won't take a halfpenny. All you have to do is bring me an old tinder box that my grandmother forgot the last time she was down there." "All right then, put the rope round my waist," said the soldier. "Here it is," said the witch, "and here's my blue checked apron." And so the soldier climbed up the tree, dropped down through the hole, and found himself exactly the witch had said, in the great passage where hundreds of lamps were burning. Then he opened the door. There sat the dog with eyes as big as breakfast cups glaring away at him. "You're a fine fellow," said the soldier, putting him on the witch's apron and helping himself to as many coppers as his pocket would hold. Then shutting the chest, he put the dog back again and went into the second room. Dear me, there sat the dog with eyes as big as mill wheels. "You shouldn't stare at me so," said the soldier. "You might strain your eyes." And with that he put the dog on the witch's apron. But when he saw all the silver money in the chest, he threw away his coppers and filled his pocket and his knapsack full of silver. Then he went into the third room. Really though, it was horrid. The dog in there actually did have eyes as big as the round tower, and they were going round and round in its head like wheels. Good evening," said the soldier, touching his cap, for he'd never seen a dog like this before. Still, after looking at him for a bit, he thought, "Well, will do," and lifting him down on the floor, he opened the chest. Goodness gracious, what a lot of gold there was! He could buy all the Copenhagen with it, along with the cake women's sugar pigs and all the tin soldiers and whips and rocking horses in the world. Yes, it was a lot of money. So the soldier threw away all the silver money he had filled his pockets and his knapsack with, and helped him go to gold instead. In fact, he filled pockets, his knapsack, his cap, and his boots so full that he could scarcely walk. Now he did have some money. Putting the dog back on the chest, he shut the door and called up through the tree. Pull me up again, old witch. Have you got the tinder box? Asked the witch. Why, no, said the soldier. I'd clean forgotten that. And he went back and got it. The witch pulled him up, and back he was on the road again, with his pockets, boots, cap, and knapsack full of money. What do you want with this tinder box? Said the soldier. That's nothing to do with you, said the witch. You've got your money. Now give me my tinder box. Fiddle faddle, said the soldier. Tell me straight away what you want from it, or I'll draw my sword and cut your head off. Shan't, cried the witch. So the soldier cut her head off. So much for her. Then he bundled his money up in her apron, slung it over his soldier, put the tinder box in his pocket, and made for the town. It was a grand town, and he put up at the grandest inn, where he'd ordered the best rooms and all his favourite dishes, for now he was a rich man with all that money. The servant who cleaned his boots, though, thought to be sure that they were funny old boots for a rich gentleman like this to be wearing, but then he hadn't bought any new ones yet. The next day he got himself boots and clothes that were really smart. Now the soldier had become a fine gentleman, and they told him all the sights to be seen in the town, and about the king and what a pretty princess his daughter was. Where is she to be seen? Asked the soldier. She isn't to be seen, they all said. She lives in a big copper castle, all with a lot of walls and towers round it. Nobody but the king is allowed to go in, because it's been foretold that she will marry a common soldier, and the king doesn't like that. I love to see her, thought the soldier, but of course he wasn't allowed to. From now on he lived a gay life, going to the theatre, driving in the park, and giving lots of money to the poor. Now this was very good of him, but then, you see, he remembered how hard it was to be penniless. He was rich and well dressed now, and he had a lot of friends who all said he was a fine, yellow, and perfect gentleman, and the soldier loved hearing that. But he was spending money every day, and never getting any again. He found himself in the end with only 2 pennies left, and so he had to move out of the grand room he had been living in and go into a tiny little attic under the roof, where he had to clean his own boots and do his own mending with a darning needle. And none of his friends came to see him, because there were so many stairs to climb. Now one evening, when it was quite dark and he couldn't even buy himself a candle, he suddenly remembered that there was a candle end in the tinder box he had fetched from the whole low tree to the which he helped up into. He got out the tinder box and the bit of a candle, but the moment he struck a light and the sparks flew from the flint, the door sprang open, and there before him stood the dogs with eyes as big as breakfast cups that he had seen underneath the tree, and said, "What are my lord's commands?" "Why, whatever is this?" cried the soldier. "It's a funny sort of tinder box, if I can get what I like with it." "Bring me some money," he said to the dog, and whip, it was gone, and whip was back again, and with a big bagful of coppers in his mouth. Now the soldier knew what a fine tinder box it was. If he struck once, the dog that sat on the chest of coppers appeared. If he struck twice, the one that he that had the silver money, and if he struck 3 times, the one with the gold, so the soldier. So the soldier changed back into the grand rooms and the handsome clothes, and all his friends knew him once and were very fond of him. And now one day he thought to himself, this is a funny idea. Nobody being allowed to see the princess. She's supposed to be so lovely, they all say so. But what's the good of that when all the time she kept shut up inside the copper castle with all those towers? Is there no way of getting to see her? Where's my Tinder Box? And he struck a light, and there stood the dog with eyes as big as breakfast cups. I know very well it's in the middle of the night, said the soldier, but I should so love to see the princess just for a minute. The dog was out of the door at once, and before the soldier had time to think, was back again with the princess. There she sat, fast asleep on the dog's back, and she was so lovely it was plain to see she was the real princess. The soldiers just couldn't help it. He had to kiss her. He was a proper soldier. Then the dog ran back again with the princess. But in the morning, when the king and queen were having their breakfast, the princess said she had such a curious dream in the night, all about a dog and a soldier. She had been riding on the dog's back, and the soldier had kissed her. That's a pretty tale, I must say, said the queen. And so one of the ladies in waiting had to sit up by the princess's bedside to the next night to see if it was really a dream or not. The soldier wanted ever so much to see the lovely princess again, and so along came the dog in the night and took her and ran off with her as fast as his legs would carry him. But the old lady waiting put her waders on and ran just as fast after them, and seeing them disappearing to a big house, she thought, now I know where it is, and she talked a big cross on the gate. Then she went home to bed, and the dog came running back with the princess. But she took the scene across chalked on the gate where the soldier lived. He took a piece of chalk himself and made a cross on every gate in the town. This was clever of him, because now, of course, the lady waiting couldn't find a gate where there were crosses on all of them. Early in the morning, the king and queen, the old lady waiting, and all the court officials went to see where it was the princess had been. There it is, cried the king, catching the sight of the first door with the cross in it. No, it's there, my love, said the queen, seeing another door with a cross on it. Oh, but there's one, and there's one, they all cried. Whichever way they looked, there were crosses on the gate, so it was plain to see that it was no use looking any further. But the queen, you know, was a very clever woman, who could do more than ride about in a coach. She took her big golden scissors, cut up a large piece of silk, and made a little bag out of it. Filling this with the finest buckwheat grain, she fastened it onto the princess's back, and then snipped a little hole in the bag so that the grain would trickle out and leave a trail wherever the princess went. That night along came the dog again, and putting the princess on his back, ran off with her to the soldier who loved her so much and wished he were a prince so he could marry her. The dog never noticed the grain trickling out all the way from the castle to the soldier's window, where he had run up the wall with the princess. And so in the morning it was perfectly plain to the king and queen where the daughter had been going, and they took the soldier and clipped him in jail. There he sat. How dark and dreary it was! And they said to him, tomorrow you're to be hanged. This was no joke, and what's more, he'd left his tinder box at his lodgings. In the morning, between the iron bars of his little window, he could see people hurrying out of town to see him hanged. He heard the sounds of drums and he saw marching soldiers. Everybody was running. Among the crowd was a cobbler's boy in leather upper aprons and slippers, and he scampered along so fast that one of his slippers flew off, landing by the wall where the soldier sat, looking out between the iron bars. "Hi, cobbler boy," cried the soldier. "There's no need to be in such a hurry. There'll be nothing to doing till I get there. But look here, if you run to my lodgings and get me my Tinder Box, I'll give you something for yourself. But you'd better make haste. The cobbler's boy was glad of copper of two, so off he dashed from the Tinder Box and gave it to the soldier, and well, now we're coming to that. Outside the town, a big gallows had been put up, and round it stood soldiers and hundreds of thousands of people. The king and queen sat on a beautiful throne opposite the judges and the whole council. The soldier was already at the top of the ladder, but they were just going to put the rope around his neck when he said that a criminal before punishment was already granted some harmless words. He would love to smoke a pipe of tobacco. After all, it would be the last he would get here on earth. Now the king didn't want to say no to this, and so the soldier took his Tinder Box and struck it once, twice, 3 times. And there stood all the dogs, the one with eyes as big as breakfast cups, the one with eyes like mill wheels, and the one with eyes as large as the round tower. "Now save me from being hanged," cried the soldiers, and the dogs flew at the judges and all the councillors, and seizing some by the legs, by others by the nose, tossed them high up into the air, and so they all fell down and were dashed into pieces. "I'm not going," cried the king, but the biggest dog seized both him and the queen, and tossed them after all the others. At this, the soldiers got frightened, and the people all shouted, "Good soldier, and you shall be our king and marry the lovely princess." So they put the soldier in the king's coach, and all the 3 dogs went dancing along in front, shouting, "Hurrah!" And the boys whistled through their fingers, and the soldiers presented their arms. The princess came out of the copper's castle, and was made queen, and that was just what she liked. The wedding feast lasted a week, and the dogs sat at the table with the rest and were all eyes. The end. So there you go. I do apologise if I stumbled a bit, but this is just the first episode. If you enjoyed this first episode of Storytime with me, and you would like to see more of this content, give it a like, and feel free to request some stories you want me to read to you, but make sure they aren't too long. Once again, I'm Max Jackson, and have a good day.